Hey everyone! So, with 2026 just around the corner, the question on everyone's mind is pretty simple. Where should I put my money? But in this explainer, we're going to look beyond the usual stock tips to uncover a really powerful new strategy. It focuses less on what you pick and way more on how you pick it.
I mean, this is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this is the central challenge. But here's the thing. The obvious answers, they might not be the smartest ones.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with what the experts are saying, the consensus picks for the year. Then we'll make a pretty big pivot from the what to the how, and I'll introduce you to a fascinating new way to sort investments. We'll look at how it can deliver smarter bets with way less drama, and then we'll wrap up by looking at what this all means for the future of prediction itself.
All right, so first things first, to understand where we're going, we need to know what the mainstream is thinking. Let's unpack that consensus view. What are the big fund managers betting on for 2026?
Well, a recent poll of investment managers makes one thing crystal clear. For the short term, information technology is the overwhelming favorite. And you can boil the reason for all this excitement down to just two letters. AI.
And this quote from Ben Rogoff, man, it just nails the feeling out there. The belief is that 2026 is the year AI's impact becomes totally undeniable, not just in the tech world, but across every single industry. It's just going to be impossible to ignore.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. The whole story shifts when managers look a little further out. Yeah, tech is the top pick for the next year, but on a 5-year horizon, energy just leaps right into that #1 spot. And the logic is pretty simple. All that incredible AI computing power is going to need a colossal amount of energy, creating a massive long-term demand story.
And look, this whole AI thing, it's not just a traditional market story. Over in the crypto space, the conversation is also getting a lot more mature. The focus for 2026 is shifting to things like actual, real revenue and, yep, you guessed it, AI infrastructure and real-world adoption. The hype is starting to move towards tangible value. Okay, so we've got our what, right? Tech, energy, AI-related, crypto, we get it. But knowing the top sectors is just the beginning. Now we pivot from what to how. And this is where we find a much more powerful idea. Because let's be real, simply chasing what's hot is not a strategy. The market is just littered with popular picks that turned into spectacular failures. There is a huge, hidden variable beneath the surface that we almost always overlook. And this brings us to the key question. What if the method we use to select our investments is actually more important than the specific things we select? This insight comes from some really fascinating new research in the world of quantitative finance.
All right, let's dive in. The method is called uncertainty-adjusted sorting, and it's a simple but really profound shift in how to think about building a portfolio.
You know, for decades, we've relied on what's called a point prediction. A model just spits out a single number. This stock will go up 10%, and we rank everything based on that one number. It's kind of like a weather forecast that just says, tomorrow's going to be 25 degrees. No context.
This new way, though, it adds that crucial context we are missing. Instead of just one number, it creates a whole range of likely outcomes. And it bases that range on how reliable the model's past predictions for that specific stock have been. It's the difference between hearing it'll be 25 degrees and hearing it'll be 25, but it could range from 22 to 28. Now you can decide if you actually need a jacket.
So how does this actually work? It's a pretty straightforward 4-step process. First, you get your standard prediction. Second, you look at the model's past errors for that specific stock. Third, you use those errors to create a confidence range. And finally, and this is the key insight, you rank what you want to buy based on the most optimistic end of the range and what you want to short based on the most pessimistic end. It basically pushes the most reliable bets right to the top.
Okay, so it sounds great on paper, right? But does it actually, work? Well, the researchers back-tested this across a ton of data, and the results are pretty stunning. But here's the surprising part. The biggest win from this method isn't necessarily that you get these crazy higher returns. The real magic is that it significantly reduces your portfolio's volatility. It just makes the journey a much, much smoother ride by avoiding those gut-wrenching swings.
And this table just lays it all out. Look at the Sharpe ratio. It's basically a score for how much return you get for the risk you're taking. And all you need to know is the higher the number, the better. Notice how for both a simple model and a complex one, that ratio just jumps up significantly when you use the new method. You're simply getting a better bang for your buck, risk-wise.
This quote from the researchers who developed the method just sums it all up perfectly.
We spend so much time and energy trying to build better and better prediction models, but this work shows that being smarter about how we use the predictions we already have can be just as powerful.
So let's bring this all home. As we're looking at 2026, what's the big takeaway from all of this for you? How does it change how we should be thinking? Really, the big idea here is a total shift in mindset. Instead of this relentless search for the perfect crystal ball, the real edge, the real advantage might just come from understanding and pricing the unreliability of our own forecasts. It's about acknowledging what we don't know.
And that, right there, is the thought I want to leave you with. As AI gives us more and more powerful predictive tools, maybe the truly scarce skill, the ultimate alpha, won't be about having the best model. Maybe it will be about having the best framework for dealing with its inevitable flaws.